Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Wave if you can, yeah? Perfect. All right. I'm very happy to be here with you. We're going to talk about influencer marketing and what is impactful influencer marketing. Maybe a first question to start. Who of you are already working with influencers or using influencer marketing on a daily basis? You guys, all right. And who of you want to use influencer marketing at some point in the future? All right, perfect. What I'm going to talk about is impactful influencer marketing in 2025, because that's what's interesting for you guys. And just before we dive in, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can tap the link and write your question down with the link. And at the end, we will have a small Q&A, and I will try to answer as best as I can your question. One quick word before we dive in. We only have 15 minutes. Influencer marketing is a complex topic. I'm giving classes at university that last for 24 hours, and even with that, we don't have enough time to cover everything. So this is a presentation to make you think, to make you curious about influencer marketing. But of course, we will not be able to walk out of here and be an expert, and this is perfectly normal, so don't worry. My name is Thomas. I'm 29. I studied at Solvay here in Brussels, and then I moved to Paris 3 years ago to open the French office of BeInfluence Europe, which I'm a co-founder of. BeInfluence Europe, we're an influencer marketing agency, so we are here from A to Z to design, implement, execute, and report on influencer strategies for our clients. And we founded the agency in 2019 while we were still students at Solvay with my co-founder Boris. And since then, we went from two co-founders in a small technical room at Solvay to 35 team members spread across our offices in Brussels and Paris. From only one campaign at the University of Brussels for Doctors Without Borders to over 800 campaigns for 100 plus clients in 25 plus countries. And from semi-forcing our friends and friends of friends to work for us on Facebook, to working with over 9,000 content creators across 7 social platforms. And we're working with a great diversity of clients, meaning that each and every one of you here, if you have a company or work at a company, influencer marketing can be useful for your business. This makes us one of the leading influencer agencies in Europe. We are the fastest growing influencer agency in Europe, according to the Financial Times. We are also the fastest international agency from Adweek, which is a very big US-based media. And we are also here in Belgium, the 6th fastest growing company, all industries combined, according to Deloitte Fast 50 ranking. How did we achieve that? Well, a lot of work, of course, but also because we have the chance to be in one of the most exciting and fastest growing segment of advertising today, which is influencer marketing. In Belgium, to give you a few numbers, influencer marketing is a market worth 92 million euros in 2024. And to give you a bit of context, it's 152 million in the Netherlands and close to 500 million in France. And in Europe overall, influencer marketing is a market worth 5.3 billion euros in 2024, and it will have an annual growth rate of close to 8.5% up until 2029. And if we take a step back again, on a global scale, influencer marketing will reach $56 billion by 2029. Making it the fastest growing segment in advertising, even in front of paid social ads that everybody knows. And so why is it growing so fastly and so strongly? It's because, well, for starters, 43% of internet users nowadays use an ad blocker, meaning that when you are launching an ad on Facebook, on Instagram, or on a website, you have one out of 2 chances that the ad will never reach your desired audience. And on top of that, 92% of consumers today trust creator content more than brand-generated content. So gone are the days that a brand could spend 100k euros on a nice and slick film or commercial. It will not have any impact anymore. And on top of that, 87% of users who have seen a brand featured by a creator have visited the website of the brand. Meaning that influencer marketing is not just about visibility, it's also about consideration, and it is also about conversion, as 80% of consumers have purchased a product after it was recommended by a creator in 2024, which is massive. And last, but maybe the most frightening stat of all, is that today 37% of 13 to 17 years old want to become a content creator as their first career choice, in front of doctors, artists, footballer, or others, meaning that the young are looking up to creators today because they want to become one someday, which means that the power of influence of those creators on the young generation is really extreme. But beyond that, influencer marketing is growing so strongly because it works. It works for product. I don't know if some of you know the two guys on the left, KSI and Logan Paul, who have launched a beverage brand who did, in its second year of existence, over $2 billion in sales, all influencer marketing driven. It also works for luxury brands and premium brands, as you can see with Lena Mafouf and Gucci. And it works with day-to-day brands like Stabilo, for whom we work, to make their product sexy regarding their audience. It works also for services. I don't know how many of you saw the documentary on the Everest project for Inoxtag in France, where he climbed Mount Everest. That documentary made over 400,000 entries at the cinema in France in a 2-day span, which is massive. It works for banking services. Trade Republic is using heavily influencer marketing to drive demand for its product and its application. And it works for brands like Amazon, who want to have more Prime members and who we work with here in Belgium. And I will just show you how it looks in practice.
People always ask me, Rob, you're an Iron Man. What's next? I need something more turbo. I know. Right, the course could use some improvement, but if you think you can beat me at the first ever Prime Turbo Triathlon, sign up. Put your mouth where your legs are, motherfucker. Put your mouth where your mouth. Wat zeg je?
Put your money where your mouth is.
Put your money where your mouth is. Let's go.
So, of course, it works for brands, but it also works for institutions. And at BeInfluence, we are working with a lot of public institutions to also drive their message regarding general politics or societal topics, like the European Commission, where we organized the very first meeting between content creators across Europe and Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, in Strasbourg, to give an interesting insight about the new year at the European Commission and the European Parliament, and to make sure to try to interest millennials and Gen Z who are looking away from politics and looking away from the European Commission, and to try to get back that feeling of it is important for me on a daily basis what the European Commission is doing. It works also for federal institutions. The second example is in France, where we work with the Ministère of Sports and the big national cause in France in 2024 with the Olympic Games was to make the French want to do sport again and more and on a stronger basis. And so we set up a whole campaigns where we paired content creators with athletes to exercise and do sport, but also to go beyond and behind the scenes and learn about why are they an athlete, what does it take, what does it bring them, etc., etc. And then we worked also with the federal Belgian government regarding the elections, as 2024 was maybe the most important year ever for Belgium in terms of elections, with the federal and the European elections happening on the very, very same day, and more Belgians being frightful and afraid of the news, the misinformation that they are seeing on social media. And so with the federal government, we try to tackle that topic and create a campaign to give people in Belgium tools where they can be sure that the information is factual, and then they can make an informed choice about their vote.
Imagine, tu sais toujours pas pour qui voter dimanche. Attends, j'arrive. Bah ça tombe bien parce que là, je vais vous donner 5 outils pour pouvoir faire votre choix dimanche. Le premier, c'est le test électoral.
C'est un site web sur lequel il y a plein de questions, tu y réponds et à la fin ils disent avec quel parti tu as le plus de points communs.
2. Si t'as la flemme de quitter Insta ou TikTok, tu peux aller checker le compte de Belgica. En gros, ils ont fait un résumé de chaque programme de chaque parti et ils t'expliquent tout ce qu'il faut savoir pour bien voter. 3. Imagine il existait une sorte de chat GPT de la politique belge. Bah ça existe et ça s'appelle Civics.
En gros, tu leur poses n'importe quelle question sur le programme des partis que tu veux et ça t'en fait un résumé. Et en plus, tu peux même comparer les partis.
4. Ça va paraître bête, mais en vrai, les médias traditionnels, ils ont fait plein d'articles super pour résumer les programmes des différents partis, ils ont organisé des débats télévisés, et ça reste la source d'information la plus sûre que vous pouvez trouver sur Internet. 5. S'il n'y a rien qui vous parle, vous pouvez toujours aller voir les interviews qu'on a fait avec les présidents de partis. C'est dispo sur YouTube, et c'est des formats... C'est un peu chiant. Le plus important, c'est de toujours vérifier les sources des infos qu'on voit passer. Un short, un TikTok, un réel Insta, ça dit pas toujours la vérité, et encore moins les commentaires. Du coup, il me reste juste une question.
And so just a quick fun fact, but that particular reel was shared by Angèle, the superstar singer, without us asking anything from her. Just she thought that it was well designed and of use for her following. And so she shared it to her 3.7 million followers on Instagram. But it also works for NGO and associations who have also objectives that they need to reach, who have battles that they want to win. And so we are working on a regular basis with NGOs like UNICEF or l'ASBL Lilo, which is tackling homelessness in Belgium, or Doctors Without Borders 5 years afterwards, to make sure that influencer marketing is also used to drive conversation on important topics. And in the end, it can also be used to tackle employer branding. And I will show you that video from Japan.
In Japan, a country known for hospitality, everywhere you go, you are greeted with smiles. And McDonald's leads the way on this. Smiles are even on the menu, for free. You can even order them for delivery. But
水とスマイルください。
スマイル6回はもう一回
笑ってねえよ。
スマイル0円とか最悪。いや俺のスマイルそんな安くないし。
マクドナルドでバイトマジで無理。
Smiles, McDonald's commitment to its customers had become a barrier to recruiting Gen Zs. So, McDonald's decided to flip their basic principle on its head. We created an original song with Ano, an artist who never smiles, and that's why people love her. Her be yourself attitude has made her hugely popular among Gen Zs. The song went viral on TikTok and YouTube. we got twice as many views as the population of Gen Zs in Japan. Job applications hit a record high for McDonald's Japan and became Japan's most desired part-time job. This prompted McDonald's to rewrite their manual after being untouched for more than 50 years. This song has become a symbol of the Be Yourself work style movement, inspiring other companies. Because we only want you to smile when and how you really want to smile.
So it's a bit weird, it's from Japan, I know, but you can see how influencer marketing, when well thought of and well executed and well crafted, can really drive change for a brand, be it in terms of awareness or consideration, conversion, employer branding, content production, etc., etc. But of course, to do influencer marketing the right way, you need to know who the creators are in 2024. Creators are the bedrock of everything that we do, and the influencer marketing is only working because the creators are at the center of it. So just to give you a quick figures in Europe, so those are Europe-based figures. The first thing that you see is that it's overwhelmingly represented by women, with 77% of creators being a woman and only 22% of men, which is quite an advantage for brands who have women as their primary consumers and targets, and which can be quite difficult for brands who have men as their primary target. In terms of age, maybe you think that influencer marketing is only for Gen Z or Gen Alphas doing dances on TikTok, but it's not the case anymore. In 2024, the majority of creators are over 26 years old, compared to 2021 when it was a bit more young. But creators, like their audience, are moving along the cycle of life. And for brands who had a bit more older target groups and target audiences, it can be now very, very interesting to start working with influencers, working with creators, because they are older and their audience are older as well. And then in terms of numbers of followers, in the press, in the media, we always talk about the very, very big creators, the superstars. But when you take an objective look at the numbers, you see that an overwhelming proportion of creators in Europe, so close to 40 million creators, have between 1 and 10K followers on their social. And when you move along the scale, only 200,000 creators in Europe have over 1 million followers on their social media, meaning that it can be quite difficult for a brand to work with superstar because they are in such high demand and in such short supply. And where do we find those creators? For the vast majority of them, either men or women, it's on Instagram, which is still the first and most priority network that for influencer marketing and for the creator economy. And then what you can see is that men are over-indexed on YouTube. There's a lot more male YouTubers than female YouTubers in Europe. It's quite equal on TikTok. And then, again, male over-index for Twitter. And on the contrary, women over-index for Pinterest. But as you can see, influencer marketing and the creators are really, really today, and it will continue to be that way in 2025, concentrated on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and for a small minority on Facebook still. And if you think that all influencers and all creators are raking in millions of euros in revenue per year, well, you'd be wrong. To start with, only 60% of creators who have less than 5K followers on their social did a paid collaboration in 2024, meaning that 40% of creators have never worked with a brand as of today. And then, of course, the more you move in the number of followers, the higher the percentage of creators who have done a paid collaboration. But those collaborations can be very, very hard to monetize as a full-time job. Only 6% of creators in Europe in 2024 have earned more than 50k euros in annual revenue. Meaning that only 6% are a bit above the median revenue for Europeans. So I know that some extreme example, like Lena and other creators, they earn a lot of money, but for the vast majority of the creators, it's a difficult job, and for over 90% of them, it's a job that doesn't pay enough to become full-time. Now, we talked about creators, but what did brands do in 2024? Well, in Belgium, 75% of brands have dedicated an independent budget to influencer marketing this year. This is up from 65% the year before, and in 2025, it will be an even higher number because more and more brands know that influencer marketing works. It is impactful for their brands, so they are switching budgets into that channel. And 76% of brands already using influencer marketing have increased the budget allocated to them because it works again. And in terms of number, around half of brands had an annual influencer budget of 50,000 euros or more in 2024 in Belgium. And 10% of brands already had an annual influencer budget of over 1 million euros in annual budget. And as you can see, when we take a look at the global situation, for 26% of brands, so over 1/4 of all brands, have dedicated over 40% of their budget to influencer marketing. It's a trend that keeps on going to the right, because again, when it is well thought of, well executed, and well reported on, influencer marketing is the most impactful channel for a brand out there. Another few trends in 2024, what we see is that the volume of creators a brand is working with is going down. Brands prefer to work with a smaller amount of creators, but with bigger creators and on a longer time scale. There are still a lot of challenges when it comes to influencer marketing. And the first challenge for brands in 2024 was still to have a good measure of the return on investment. And then it was selecting the right creators, and then the quality of the content, and followed by the brand safety, which are always making up the top 4 of the challenges encountered by brands. And how are brands managing their influencer program? Well, for 35% of them, they are working with a dedicated agency, which has the expertise and the experience to tackle the challenges that we have seen just before. But for 23% of them, they are doing it in-house with custom tools. There are more and more platforms dedicated to influencer marketing that are in the market, and that can be really effective when you have the in-house people who know what they are doing. Now, how do we go and get that impact when it comes to IM? Well, first, and this is maybe the most important slide of all, you need to keep in mind that impactful influencer marketing is only a matter of brand love. And brand love can be seen as a fledgling word, and what does it even mean? But I know that all of you have your preferred brand when it comes to your smartphone. You have all your preferred brands of cereal. You have all your preferred brands of hotel. This is what brand love is, and this is what influencer marketing needs to achieve, is that you need to enhance, you need to rise the brand love for your client. And the brand love, how do you get that? It's a combination of the right creators delivering the right message to the right audience. And once that combination is found, influencer marketing works for all types of brands and all objectives, as we have just seen before. So the very first thing that you need to do once you know that the end of objective is to maximize the brand love is that you need to choose a relevant campaign objective. There are three main objectives when it comes to influencer marketing. The first is an awareness objective, where you will try to maximize the reach or impressions of your campaign. The second is a consideration objective, where you will try to maximize the engagement of the campaign. And then the third is, of course, a sales objective, where you will try to maximize the conversion of the campaign. Be careful when it comes to sales objectives. I know that in today's world, we want to track everything and have instant results. Influencer marketing does not work that way. If you try to track the sale of your campaign right after the end of the campaign, you will have disappointing results. Because influencer marketing, you are talking to an audience, and the audience is yourself, and I know that if you stumble upon the content of the creator in the bus, or when you are going to see your grandma, or where you are about to enter a class, you will not take out your credit card and buy instantly the product. What you will do is maybe save the content, maybe share the content in a direct message to a friend, or maybe just write it down somewhere and say, oh, in 3 months is my birthday, and I will buy that product for my birthday. So meaning that when it comes to sale, you need to have a longer view in terms of analyzing the campaign, to make sure to give the opportunity to the audiences to buy the product, buy the services, etc., etc. Of course, when for each objective, the choice of networks and formats is decisive. You will not do a conversion campaign on TikTok. You will not do an awareness campaign on Pinterest, etc., etc. So each objective is linked to a certain type of network and a certain type of content format. And of course, the order is important. If you work for a brand that everybody knows and everybody loves, then you can try to do directly a conversion campaign. If you are launching your startup and nobody knows you, please don't try to sell directly to your audience. Make sure that first everybody knows you. Once everybody knows you, try to have a certain percentage of that everybody to like you, and then to that percentage that likes you, go and try to sell it. Of course, as always, maximize the brand love, because on a long enough scale, this will be the only thing that matters. Now, once you have chosen your objective, you need to design the campaign. And it's 4 steps, and each step is really important, and I could explain to you each steps like for several hours, but this is just the summary of what you need to pay attention to. First is, based on your objective, you need to design a strategic and creative proposal to create emotions in the creators and also for the audience. Today, you know there are an infinity of content on social media. Why should a creator work with your brand, and why should one of his followers pay attention to your content if it doesn't bring any emotion in them? And emotion can be very vast. It can be laughter, it can be sadness, it can be awe, it can be anything else. But you need to have that strategic and creative proposal, a concept that will drive emotions into the creators and into their audiences. Once you have the strategic and creative proposal defined, you need to go and select the relevant creators. And this is a very important part of the work. You need to select the creators at the creator level. Does it matches with my brand? Does it matches with my universe? Does his tone of voice matches with the creative proposal that I just came up with? Did it work with competitors in the past? How did it go, etc., etc.? But you also need, and it's perhaps more important, to check the creator at its audience level. Nowadays, you would be amazed at how many creators are 25 and live in Brussels, and have audiences, have followers who are not 25 at all and who don't live in Belgium. But if your target audience is 25 and living in Belgium, you need to make sure that the creators that you are working with matches that audience. And you have a lot of tools that you can use nowadays. You can ask also manually for the stats of the creators, but this is something that you really need to look at. And then last but certainly not least, you need to check the average results of the creators. It's not because a creator has 100,000 or 1 million followers that each and every video will do 1 million views. You have creators nowadays with the algorithmic revolution of the platforms who have 10,000 followers and who will do videos that systemically outperform their number of followers and reach the tens or hundreds of thousands of views. And on the contrary, you have mega creators who have millions of followers and who will do like 15,000 views on their reels. All right, but this is your job, your responsibility to check that. And then once you have selected the good and relevant creators, you need to implement and execute, meaning that you need to tackle the administrative, legal, and financial aspect of the campaign. You need to make sure that the content is being posted on time, answer the creator question, make sure that no bad buzz is popping up on a content or another, etc., etc. And then at the end, of course, you need to know if the campaign worked. So how well did it go? Did it matches my quantitative objectives? Did it matches my qualitative objectives? How can we do better next time? Did the creators like working with the brand, etc., etc. So this is a quick summary, but in practice, setting up a campaign can take weeks. And you need to dedicate enough time to make sure that each and every step is done the right and correct way. Now, once you have the basic, you have the most important aspect. Of course, authenticity. Today, when you are talking about influencer marketing, authenticity pops up immediately in people's minds, and it's really, really important. You can be authentic when you are working with creators. Creators need to be authentic if they want the message to come across in a good way to their audience. You cannot have a message that is too branded, too commercial, that is looking like a TV spot. It doesn't work that way. So you need to have authenticity. But what was once a nice to have, being authentic, now is a must have, meaning that every brand that knows how to work with influencers, that knows how to do influencer marketing, will of course be authentic. So authenticity is no longer a differentiating factor for a brand. And so to have an impactful influencer strategy, we must combine authenticity and... Does one of you have an idea? Creativity. All right? This is today the go-to word that you need to chase, is have a creative campaign with creative creators. And this starts when you are thinking about the concept, when you are thinking about the creative and strategic proposal. How can I be creative in the message that I want to share? And then it needs to happen when you are working and selecting the creators. I need to work with creative influencers to make sure that my proposal is shared the right way to the audience. And then you need to also be creative when it comes to analyzing the campaign. Like, don't look only at the numbers, look at the other factors that are making or breaking your campaign. And just a stat to sum up that for 86% of 15 to 49 years old today, the creativity of the content offered constitutes the first criteria for following or not an influencer campaign. So you need to be creative in your message. So be creative, but what it means concretely is tell a story. Really, you need to master the art of storytelling. We are no longer in 2018 where you could like send boxes to creators and ask them to do a very commercial unboxing, making crazy faces and expressions, and then giving them a promo code that takes up 3/4 of the screen. We're in 2024, soon in 2025. Your role as a brand is to provide creative opportunities. Don't be too much constraining in your concept, in the briefing that you are giving creators. You need to give the creators enough space so that they can adapt the message to their tone of voice, to their creative universe, and make it feel native. You need to remember who you are talking to. This is really, really important. Most brands, when they are starting with influencer marketing, they think that influencer marketing is a brand talking to creators. This is not what influencer marketing is. Influencer marketing is a brand talking to its target audiences through creators. Creators are intermediaries, and so when you are thinking about the campaign, the message, etc., you need to address the audiences. Meaning that if you organize a trip or organize an event, don't just invite the creators, invite also the communities. Create contests to make them win the trip or a place to the event. Include them in the message and in the campaign. And then, of course, you know your brand, but the creators know their communities. Listen to them, listen to their feedback. Maybe your brief is too constrained, maybe your brief is not going to work perfectly well with the audience of a particular creator. Listen to what they have to say and be open enough to let them adapt the message to what they know their community will like, all right? The most basic example is a brand that doesn't want any spelling mistakes in the campaign with a creator, but if the creator is always talking and making spelling mistakes, having a perfectly crafted message will look not native at all to its audience. And so they will say, oh, but the brand constrained our creator, why doesn't he do spelling mistakes, etc., etc. So you need to be open enough to that and adapt the message to the creators you are working with. They are not billboards, they are human beings, and they are followed by human beings, not billboards. And either way, of course, maximize the brand love. So this is Impact 101, and once you have mastered that, you can now move on to maximizing the impact of your campaign. The easiest way to maximize the impact of a campaign is through creators' contents. Today, content is king in advertising, you know that, and creator content is a huge advantage that you need to take into account. Reminder of the stat that we saw before, for 92% of consumers, 92% of consumers trust creator content more than brand-generated content. Stop spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands euros into perfectly crafted content. Nobody will want to look at them. Spend the money, less budget on creators who will craft the content that the people want to see, and then reuse that content in your other channels. This is what brands are starting to do. So which channels do you plan to use influencer content for? The vast majority plans to use it in paid social advertising. It works very, very, very well to have a creator content and to transform it into a paid social ad. And it will, and as I will show you just after, it really boosts your results. You can also reuse the content in your organic social channels to humanize the brand, to be in touch with what the people want to see on social media. You can also use it on your website, in email, in display, in out of home. We are seeing now also campaigns that are built around a creator and where the content is being used on TV as a TV ad. All right, you can go very, very far. The reason for that is that for 36% of brands, and if we take a larger sample, for 66% of brands, the creator content performs better or in line with brand-generated content, but always at a lower and cheaper price, meaning that you are saving money to achieve same or better results. And 23% of brands have never tested that approach, meaning that there is still room today to try and test that approach with your brand and not be lagging behind. And so amplifying influencer campaign is really today the key to maximizing impact. When you use creator content in an organic campaign and then in a paid social strategy, you can have a 4-time impact on the return on investment. You can see a 3.7 higher click-through rate, a 10% increase in conversion, and all of that with a 50% cost per 1,000 impression reduction. So this is really the bread and butter, and every dedicated agency today recommends to its client to use organic campaigns and paid social strategies hand in hand. The platform that mastered that is TikTok. I don't know if any of you use TikTok business-wise, but the tagline that they have been using for the past several years to all their brand client is, don't make ads, make TikToks. Because I know that an ad that looks like a TikTok will have much better results because the communities, the users, will be interested by the TikTok/ad. All right, and I think most, if not all of you, are on TikTok right now. If you see an ad which is basic, looking like a TV ad, you will scroll instantly, and then you will also come across ads that don't look like ads and look like TikToks, and you will start looking at the content, and then you will think, okay, it's an ad. But you will have 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, you will be into the ad, and so the recall is much more important. All right, last slide, and I went really, really fast, so we'll have a lot of time for the questions if you have them. A quick cheat sheet for 2025. One last reminder that in the end, only brand love matters. So please, if you only take one thing away from that keynote, is that only the brand love matters. But on top of that, what we're going to see in 2025, first is the ecosystemization of influencer marketing. Influencer marketing needs to be worked in synergy with the other channels and in line with the communication mix. As a brand, you cannot have a small dedicated budget to influencer marketing and think that it will work on its own, completely decoupled from the other marketing channels that you might have. You need to put influencer marketing at the center because it will allow you to then think about how can I reuse the content of the creators? How can I invite creators to an event? Should I create an event and invite content creators, etc., etc. So really, as a brand, you need to think of influencer marketing as the center out of which every communication channels can benefit. Second, we'll have the rise of user-generated content and creator-generated content to solve the content crunch of influencer marketing. When you're launching a campaign, you will work with maybe 10, 15, 20 creators for like 3 weeks. They will each create content, and then the campaign stops, and you don't have any more content for your social ads or your website or your organic channels. So this is why now we have creators who are dedicated to producing content for brands. And they are not sharing that content on their social channels. They are paid to craft the content, to produce the content, and then send it directly to the brand, and then the brand uses it in its paid social strategy, on its website, etc., etc. And this is really, really important because, well, it's a way lower cost for a brand to work with creators' content than brand-generated content, and it works better as we have just seen. Third, creators' fees will go down. There has been an overheating of the creator economy of influencer marketing in the past 2-3 years, where prices went crazy up, and now they are starting to come down. And why do I say relatively? Is because 3 years ago, you were paying the creators only for sharing the content on social media, but nowadays you can pay the creators for sharing the content on their social media, but also reusing their content. And when you are reusing their content, what is the scope for how many time, etc., etc. So if you are doing only organic influencer marketing, you will have lower prices, but as I just said, if you are using the creators for several aspects of your brand and content production, etc., etc., then you will need to pay them more. Fourth, involving the communities will be mandatory, meaning that before it was a nice to have that a brand was inviting also community members to an event or a trip or whatever. But today, and the most recent example is Tarte, which is a very big cosmetic brand in the US. They are famous for their influencer trip around the world in crazy location. And this year, they did that trip again, and they got an enormous backlash from the communities that were saying, again, you are inviting creators, and what about us, your clients? What about us, your community? Why are we not invited to the trip? All right? In 2025, this will be exacerbated, and as a brand, you need to have the community at the center of your strategy. And then, of course, brands need to be in touch with their customers' realities. It's a weird and difficult time for many people today. It will continue, unfortunately, to be so in 2025. As a brand, you cannot sell a too big dream, or you cannot sell fantasies that are not in line and in touch with your communities. Influencer marketing is a great use and a great tool for you guys, but it can also backfire really, really quickly. Bad buzz happen, and when they happen on social media, they happen very, very fast. All right, so you need to be mindful of that. And then, of course, you need to entertain, as we have seen, authenticity and creativity, but you also need to educate. Consumers today, they want brands to tackle social issues, environmental issues. They want brands to take a stand on the topics that are important to them, and they want to be educated by the social networks and thus by the brands that are on them. So think about what are your values as a brand, what are what is your mission, and how can you link that to bringing value to your audience. Then, of course, the tracking and legal era. Tracking, because more and more budget are being pumped into influencer marketing. Brands want to know if influencer marketing works, and it isn't enough anymore to say, oh, we worked with 5 creators and we had good results. What were the results? What kind of results? How can we maximize the results, etc., to make sure that the invested budget is on a positive return on investment for the brands. And then legal, I think you may have heard in France, in Belgium, in Europe, that governments are now tackling the influencer marketing industry with new regulation, laws, etc., which is a good thing for the industry. It was the Wild West 24 months ago, and it was bad for business. But now, because we have rules that are in place and enforced, as a brand, you are responsible for following the rules, and you are responsible for the influencers you are working with. So please make sure that you are in line with the regulation. And then I just spent 50 minutes without talking about AI in 2024, which is an achievement in itself, but I'm going to end with that. AI will impact influencer marketing, but also in a good way. We're convinced of that. It will give creators more opportunities to express themselves in more creative ways, and in ways we haven't even yet imagined, which will help being creative, help create emotions into the audience minds. And us as businesses, AI will allow us to work better, more efficiently, and also, save time and money for the clients that we represent. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please shoot.
So I was looking at the pad, and there are some interesting questions that I can maybe ask you in the name of the audience. So the first one I have here is about the platform, where to find those influencers.
Yeah, good question. Today you have tools, you have platforms, you have Call Square, Tracker, Stellar here in Belgium, that are tools that you can use who have gathered millions of profiles and with all their stats, and then you can use the platform, and in terms of the people you want to reach, the geography, the audiences, etc., you can set in those factors and then look at the profiles that the platform gives you back. But one thing is important is that you need to understand that the platform is only a tool, so it will give you a list of names, but that list of names, you need to look at, you need to validate or invalidate the profiles, etc., And those platforms can cost a lot of money, so if you don't have the budget to pay for a platform, then you need to go the old-fashioned way and scroll through Instagram, through TikTok, etc., find interesting creators, and then contact them directly and ask them for their statistics.
Thank you for the answer. Another one linked to the first one is about the price. What would be the price for a middle-sized, let's say, influencer?
Yeah, it's always the question that we are asked when it comes to influencer marketing. And the real and true answer is that there is no one answer. Meaning that depending on the brand that you represent, depending on the difficulty of the campaign that you are asking the creators, depending on the length of the campaign, depending on will you use the budget, the content in other ways, etc., the budget can go from one end to the other end of the spectrum. So keep in mind that influencer marketing is expensive. You need to invest quite a lot to have extremely good results. But if you are Apple, you will maybe have smaller fees from the influencers who love Apple. And if you are Samsung, you will maybe have higher fees from the influencers who love Apple. So it depends.
Thank you. It's also linked to the price and the influencer, but apparently superstar creators are quite rare, meaning that is it still possible to do some product exchange in exchange for visibility? You know, giving your products and have some visibility.
No, if you want to work with superstar creators, either your Dior or Tesla or Mercedes-Benz, and you can do a product exchange because the value of the product is so high. If you are not those brands, you need to pay the creator.
Okay. Another question about so someone is owning his own a marketplace and is wondering should he play the role of influencer to promote the businesses that subscribe on his platform, or reach out some other influencer to promote the functionalities of his platform, or maybe both? What's your advice?
You can do both. You can do both. It can be a nice strategy to have the brands talk about your platform. It can also work very, very well to have creators talk about your platform. I have not tackled the topic, but B2B influencer marketing is really on the rise. It works also extremely well when you know what you're doing, so it can be a great opportunity.
Okay. Maybe a last one, and we will ask some questions on the fly for the minute that we have left. What do you suggest for a consultancy company offering business and digital transformation services use influencer marketing? Do you have any idea?
Well, first, tell your clients to use influencer marketing and then send them to us, please. As I was just saying, B2B influencer marketing is really thriving, especially on LinkedIn, but also through blogs, podcasts, etc., etc. So maybe explore that space, see how you could use B2B influencer marketing for your business. And there are also dedicated agencies. We are not one of them, but there are also dedicated agencies who are for B2B influencer marketing, so don't hesitate.
We have here a specific example, a question quite specific, but let's say that someone has 14K followers and who only enjoys sharing, so content creation is not their job, that wants to monetize what they do. How could they do that? Do you support that? Can they reach out to you, or is there another way to doing it?
So you are not creating your own content, right?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay. So it can be difficult. Either the brand creates the content for you and you share the content and it's in line with your creative universe, so it stays native and relevant. But most brands don't like really to do that, because for them, influencer marketing, one of the big advantages is that the creators are creating the content. So if you don't find enough brand deals, you can try to monetize through other means, premium subscriptions, affiliate marketing, etc., etc. But it will be difficult. So my best advice would be start creating your own content.
Okay, thank you. Do you have some question maybe to ask to Thomas? I have the mic over there, so don't be shy. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, just like my question is, I'm not gonna go a lot about parts, but thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to ask about ads, as ads play an important role in our content creation. And the thing is, there's a part of reverse psychology that sometimes you feel like, as a potential customer, you feel like you're in a hassle with all of these ads that these different brands are trying to make. And you're like, okay, what should I go for as an option? What is most suitable for me? And the thing is, sometimes we found ourselves when you realize that you are watching an ad, you just lose the feeling of buying something. Mm-hmm. So the question here is, are we really encouraging potential new content creators to create ads, or to pretend not to be creating ads?
Yeah, great question. I think that as a content creator, what you really need to do most of the time is create your own content. All right, and then of course at some point you will need or you will want to monetize that content, and you will work with brands. And the most important thing when doing paid partnerships is being true to yourself, being true to your creative universe. And nowadays, people on social media, they know that there are paid partnerships, and they know that you are making a living out of it, and they are rooting for you. And what we see is that the more transparent the ads and the paid partnership are, the better the results. The second aspect of the question is like, as a small creator, should I focus only on creating content for paid ads for brands? I would say no, because if you are doing it too much, you will lose your touch. But it can be a great way to monetize also the content. But then again, organic influencer marketing has better results than paid social advertising. But because brands need to have that paid social advertising in their marketing mix, it yields better results to have creator content as a social ad. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Unfortunately, we don't have the time for the questions, so maybe at the end of the presentation, the people can meet you. Thank you once again, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.